Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Nick Talks. This episode's amazing guest, a gentleman called Ash, who you might know from YouTube as That Preston Journalist. And I'll get into that in a minute about why he calls himself That Preston Journalist. It's the that bit at the beginning that tickles me. So, first of all, welcome, Ash, to the show.
Hi Nick, nice to meet you. Pleasure to be here.
And you. So, let's get that over and done with first of all. What's the that bit? That bit just makes so not the Preston Journalist, but that Preston Journalist.
Because when people refer to some people, like they might have seen another channel or something like that, so it might just be a northern thing. I don't know, but or maybe just from where I'm from. But they might just go like, "Oh, that Maya Tuzi on YouTube, or that Nick Buckley on YouTube, stuff like that, or that Mike Graham, for example, on Talk TV or something." It's just something we say, and that's why I put it. It doesn't really mean anything specific. And to be honest with you, if I had my time again, I'd probably think of a new name for the channel, but there's no point changing it now. So
Well, no, there isn't. Like, so that explains that bit. But you know what? I actually like it. It makes you go, "Ooh, that Preston Journalist." And there's something catchy there and I'm a Northerner as well. So I end up saying that as well, that person. Let's jump straight into it. Somebody sent me one of your videos a couple of weeks ago where you were talking about Kier Starmer. You don't think he's going to last that long. And one of my highest viewed videos this last month was on the same topic. And I watched a couple of your videos now on the same topic, Kier Starmer, and you're saying exactly what I'm thinking. I don't think he's going to last much longer because I can't see how he will. Everything has gone wrong so fast. He's lost the public. He's lost half his own supporters who were Labour voters through and through. He's lost them with the winter fuel allowance, with the corruption, with the hypocrisy. Every week, every day, there's another story coming out. The press will not let this die. They're going to hound him until he's out. What do you think of that?
like you said, this is being drip fed, isn't it? I mean, if the press really wanted to have this story over and done with, they could have done that in a couple of, in a few days worth of stories, but they're choosing to do it bit by bit by bit. And by drip feeding it like this, it's only getting worse for Starmer, isn't it? I mean, he's seen at least in some polls, I think it was YouGov one recently, a 49% drop, 49-point drop, sorry, in his popularity ratings in what, first 100 days. I mean, it's just unbelievable the way he's dropped off like this. He doesn't seem to care what people think. And if you're going off the last couple of days, he's gone completely AWOL. He's supposed to be in Brussels as undoing Brexit effectively, but he's not. He's simply not there. He's gone completely missing. His cabinet's gone missing. Again, we don't want to land ourselves in trouble here because we don't want to say anything that's not true. But there's so many rumors swirling around about him and his personal life and all that. Now, personally, I don't care about someone's personal life. What he gets up to is not my concern. I felt the same way about Boris Johnson as well. Whatever they get up to in their own lives, not my problem. But when you're claiming expenses and taking donations and then putting it down, for example, as Starmer did, as office running costs, Rachel Reeves did the same thing, by the way, as well. And Wes Streeting, I think, did the same thing. That is just pure deception of the public. And that these freebies, it might not be important to some people, but it's important to me. And especially when Starmer made the cardinal sin that no political party should ever do in a general election campaign, which is paint yourselves as being whiter than white. Because the public aren't stupid. We know what these people are like. And yeah, I reckon the majority of MPs are in it for the right reasons, but they take freebies on the sides. They take all this VIP treatment, for example, the Taylor Swift concerts or VIP box at Arsenal as Kier Starmer is now getting. So don't ever try and tell us that, you're the best thing since sliced bread and you've never sinned in your life, because we're simply not going to buy it because it's complete rubbish.
Yeah, you said something that jumped out at me there that I completely agree with. When he's being challenged on these things, it's as if he doesn't care. It's as if he's saying to the reporter, "How dare you ask me about this? Do you not know who I am? And you're asking me about this." He would be given a lot more leeway if at the beginning of this he turned around and went, "Do you know what? In hindsight, I can see how it looks. I've not broken any parliamentary rules, I'll have you know, but this does look bad, doesn't it? And I'd like to apologise to the nation. I'd like to apologise to my Labour Party. And I can guarantee now, from now on, this doesn't happen anymore now because I've seen the way it looks. And I'm only human and I've made some mistakes. And I want to be better and I want to be a better Prime Minister because I want to be a better Prime Minister for you and this country that I love. If he'd have said something like that, he it probably would have ended.
Yeah. As a new, yeah, like you say, just admit your mistake and say, you know what, I shouldn't have done it. Fair enough. From now on, there will be no more freebies taken whatsoever. No more donations like this will be taken at all. I sincerely apologise. It's his first couple of months in charge. The story would have blown over, and that would have been it. But I think the problem is now he's even got the mainstream media turning on him, which people like Beth Rigby, for example, the big cheerleaders of the Labour Party, for God's sake, she gave an interview saying how furious Starmer was with her for daring to, like you just said, daring to ask about his activities and about his freebies. And that's because these people in the mainstream media all championed Labour, didn't they? I mean, they try and pretend they're impartial, of course, but they all championed Labour. They championed Starmer into number 10. And now they look like complete fools because of the way it's all gone. And they're trying to save their own reputations as well, I think, by trying to tell the public the truth now about what this party is actually like and what Starmer's like. And like you just said, for him to sit there so arrogantly and not offer a single word of apology and just say, well, I didn't break any parliamentary rules. Like, well, that doesn't matter to the most of the public because we don't live by parliamentary rules. Most of us live by a decent moral code, and by anyone's moral code, or a decent working class person's moral code, the activities of not just Starmer, lots of politicians, are simply not the way that we choose to live our lives. And when they're sat there taking 300 quid off a pensioner, but they can claim fuel allowance for their second homes, they can get, in Starmer's case now, £32,000 worth of clothes given to him, and God knows what else as well. It's just the hypocrisy, as you said, the double standards and the narcissism of Starmer is what's going to bring him down, not necessarily the free suits and glasses and all that stuff.
Yeah, let me tell you the biggest hypocrisy so far, which hasn't been picked up on that much, even though it's been in all the papers. It's the fact that he's put VAT on private schools, an extra 20% because his philosophy says it's unfair if you've got well-off parents and successful parents that they can buy you a better education. So therefore, we must tax that. I disagree with that, but I can see that argument, but I disagree with it. But then at the same time, in an interview, to say, well, my son's doing his GCSEs and I want to make sure that the election didn't disturb his studying. So I took him to an £80 million flat in London so he could get away from it. Isn't that him using his influence, his friends, to ensure that his son gets a better education with better results? The hypocrisy there is just off the scale.
Yeah, it's absolutely unbelievable, isn't it? And then again with that same flat, I think it's in Covent Garden, isn't it? This the same one where he's then filming these COVID messages and stuff like that, telling us to stay at home when he's sat in somebody else's flat. And again, this comes back to deception, putting pictures of his family on the shelves behind him. And I think it was Guido Fawkes that spotted this. I mean, it was Guido Fawkes have been unbelievable in the coverage of this story. And they're the ones that put the shelves together and noticed it was the same place. Wouldn't we all love to send our son or daughter to an £18 million apartment so you can go and study quietly? And if you speak to many journalists who were covering the election, the mainstream ones, they'll tell you there wasn't reporters outside Starmer's house first thing in the morning. Starmer's supposed to be out on the campaign trail. The last place they're going to be is outside his house. They're actually going to be following him around the campaign trail. So that was a lot of rubbish as well. And he lives in a £2 million, I think it's worth £2 million, townhouse. And Holborn he lives in. And you're not telling me there's not one quiet room in that house where his son couldn't study for his GCSEs, lots of people in this country manage to help their children, or their children manage to pass their GCSEs, and they don't live in £2 million houses. So again, like you said with the VAT on private schools, the hypocrisy. Not everyone that sends their child to private school has got a ton of money in the bank. Some of them do it because they sacrifice a lot. They don't go on holiday, for example. They don't buy new clothes and stuff. They economize in a serious way to give their child the best start in life. So I don't blame Starmer for wanting to give his son the best start in life. Absolutely not. But again, don't tell the public that you can't go to private school because I'm going to tax the backside out of it. But at the same time, letting his son go and do that. And if you look at a lot of this Labour front bench, loads of them went to private school. And yet, they don't want the same thing for general members of the general public.
Well, yeah, all these socialist politicians are the same. Jeremy Corbyn's two boys went to grammar school. What's her name from Hackney? Diane Abbott. She paid for her son to go to a fee-paying school. All these people do it. They just don't want me and you to do it.
I mean, it's might sound like a weird statement, this. To be fair to Corbyn, I don't like the guy. I don't agree with his politics. I think he's an absolute loon, to be quite honest with you. But at least when he said something, I thought he believed it. He was sincere in what he said. Like with Starmer now, I don't know the first thing of what he stands for. I don't even know truly what his background is. If you look at where Corbyn grew up, he came from a very wealthy background indeed, very privileged. Both the Corbyn brothers did. And they were privately educated. Obviously, they wouldn't want you to know that, but you can look at pictures of Corbyn's house as a child, and it's a big property where he grew up in a lot of privilege. But again, it might be hypocrisy for him to say what he says, but he was sincere in his beliefs. It's just that people saw his beliefs and thought, my God, we don't want this guy, this lunatic, which is fair enough, neither did I. But with Starmer, you don't know if he's telling the truth. With Reeves, I don't know. With people like Wes Streeting, any of them, I don't know if they're telling the truth. I don't know if they believe what they're saying, given that everything they've pledged in their manifesto so far has been completely untrue, saying that energy bills are going to come down by £300. Now all of a sudden they've gone up 150 in no time, and we're going to see another rise apparently in January. So I haven't seen anything they've been on about actually going to come true. They said that GB Energy would bring those bills down. But now we've discovered that GB Energy isn't going to produce energy. It isn't going to buy it. It isn't going to import, export it. It's basically a quango. I don't see what this thing does. And we're telling people in Scotland, in Aberdeen, that we're going to take 240,000 jobs away from you and we're going to replace it with a quango. I can't see that doing many favours whatsoever with the electorate in Scotland or anywhere, for example, who works in that supply chain.
I think Labour this time have realised that the general public know politicians lie. So why are we pretending not to lie? Let's just lie about the manifesto. Let's lie to get elected because they all think we're lying anyway. So let's get rid of that pretense. And that's exactly what Kier Starmer's done. Kier Starmer, when he dealt with the Southport riots and that heavy-handed glove he brought down on people, normally he would have lied about that and cushioned the blow, but he didn't care. He was like, it's like watching Stalin. He went, I don't care. You've tweeted something, 8 years in jail for you. And I think they've just ripped away. They've either done it on purpose, ripped away the pretense, or they're just not good enough to have the pretense in the first place. It's either one or the other.
It's hard to say. I mean, the election campaign, I believe Labour's election campaign would not have won in any other election. The fact is, they got through an entire election campaign because the Tories were completely and utterly useless. Infighting, having a go at each other. They've got an ineffective leader in Rishi Sunak, and equally as ineffective as Kier Starmer when it comes to that. But they managed to get through an election campaign without really saying what the manifesto was going to be, saying what policies they were going to bring in. No other year would you get away with that. They simply told people that the manifesto was fully costed, when nothing could be further from the truth. They get into office, they tell us there's a £22 billion black hole, whereas Jeremy Hunt is now saying there's a £39 billion surplus. And the Freedom of Information request put in by the Financial Times for the a breakdown of this 22 billion black hole, the Treasury came back and said, well, we can't do that yet. We're not sure if these figures are correct. You know, it's complete and utter rubbish. These people, I don't think they know what they're talking about. And like as I said, these people, Reeves and Starmer and Streeting and that. I mean, I've met Wes Streeting. He's actually not a bad guy. I don't agree with him politically, but he's not a bad guy. But I don't believe any of these people. I don't think the public do. If you look at Kier Starmer, he's just become prime minister and lost 50% of his own majority in his seat. I mean, a few more votes less, and he could have lost his own seat while being the Labour Party leader. These people are not popular. It was Corbyn that said this was a loveless landslide. He coined that phrase, and he couldn't have been more true. People didn't want them. You got 20% of the electorate voting for them, and about 33% of that 20% actually voting for them. Sorry, no, that's incorrect, isn't it? Sorry, you've got.
I get what you mean. So 33% of the people who voted for them, but as everybody was entitled to vote, only 20% actually voted for Labour.
Yeah, you've never seen a party come to power with this small amount of votes. So it was always flimsy. The support for them was, on a knife edge as it was. But now all they've done since they came to office is done basically everything they can to annoy people. And maybe that was part of the strategy, like you said. Maybe it was, let's do all the horrible stuff in the first 1 or 2 years. And then as we start to think about the next election and we get closer to the next election, then we'll start doing some nicer stuff and we'll get back into office. Personally, I don't think that's going to work because they're so unpopular now. But with Starmer, he certainly didn't bank on all this personal stuff coming out like it is now and all these donations and everything. I think he thought that was going to be kept well under wraps.
Here's a great place now to jump in with this. So I don't think there's a good chance Starmer won't get to Christmas and then he'll be replaced. It doesn't matter who replaces him because they'll just be as bad as him, if not worse. Labour will continue to fall in the polls. Labour now is heading for a civil war. Once that civil war takes over, something will happen that will force a general election. I think we'll have a general election in the next 2 years, and I think Starmer will be gone by Christmas.
Wow, really? The Starmer thing, I do agree with. I mean, I don't see how we can carry on. If these revelations keep coming out, and from what I'm hearing, and I watched a former GB News presenter talking on his own show now, and he was saying, as far as he can see, there's no super injunction. So people can, if they want to, broadcast this stuff. It's just that media tend to stay away from personal stuff if they can. Now, especially in Starmer's case, it seems. But if you remember Boris Johnson, they couldn't wait to hound him out of office, whether it was personal or not. So they were talking about his children all the time, weren't they, and all sorts. Starmer, I don't know why. I've got a feeling he will get to Christmas. I can't guarantee it. I don't know. It depends if any silver bullet, shall we say, some massive story comes out that he simply can't wriggle out of. But I did predict that even after a few weeks, I was saying I can't see him going on for more than 2 or 3 years. And like you said, though, apart from Rayner, because he simply can't get rid of her because she's elected by the membership to be deputy leader of the party, anybody who takes Starmer's place, whether it's a Streeting, a Rayner or a Reeves, they're all fully backing him apart from Rayner. They're all fully on his side. But they're all on manoeuvres as well. You can see them going around the Labour Party conference. You can see them giving speeches. They are ready for this job to come available at any opportunity, and they can't wait to jump into the dead man's shoes, which is obviously the way a lot of our politicians work, unfortunately, isn't it? That's how they get to these cabinet positions, by stabbing somebody else in the back.
Absolutely. That greasy pole is there to be climbed.
That's it, yeah.
So the stuff that's going on with Starmer at the moment with the super injunction, whether or not there is a super injunction, who knows? And what those secrets are. Again, I don't really care to a certain extent because someone's personal life is their personal life. I only care if it's a reflection on them doing the job they've been voted in to do. So a good example would be a politician who cheats on his wife or cheats on a husband. We may think that's not our business, but if you can betray the person you're supposed to love the most in the world, and you actually signed a contract with that person, a marriage contract, about how you're going to love and protect and be with forever, if you can betray them, then I want to know, because there's a very good chance you could betray the country because you've already showing those traits. If it turns out that he a politician and their partner are into swinging, well, both of them are into that themselves. That's none of our business because that's private life for both of them. I just want to know something that reflects on their character. So we don't know what it is at the moment. I'm sure as soon as the first reporter, which will probably be non-mainstream, the first one who gets some cojones to really talk about this online will open the floodgates, and then everybody will talk about it. But in the mainstream media, they're worried that if they say something and they mess up, and then you get Ofcom on your back and this and that, they're all worried at the moment. But as soon as this becomes public knowledge online, I think the floodgates will open. And that'll just be one more story, which then will lead to another story, that will lead to another story. And eventually the Labour Party will say, we can't go on like this. He has to go. He has to go because he's now just a news story every week about how bad we are. And he has to go. That's why they got rid of Johnson in the end, because he had to go.
Yeah, so certainly, yeah. I mean, Boris Johnson was the making of his own downfall, wasn't he? I think it was wrong what they did, by the way, to get rid of him over a piece of cake. But let's face it, I mean, I'll full disclosure, I voted for Boris Johnson, and it was he turned out to be a complete disaster as Prime Minister. It just didn't work for him, did it? And he was given an exceptional, difficult set of circumstances, wasn't he? No one had to deal with some of the rubbish that he had to deal with. So I've got sympathy in a way. But I do agree with you completely that the way somebody handles himself, his family, for example, his wife, how he treats his wife, should I say, and respects his marriage vows, reflects on him, not just as a person in his personal life, but also how he runs his professional life as well, I think. And I think that does have a massive impact. And I've always said this, like, I get like you just said, if someone's a swinger or whatever, you do what you like. I don't really care as long as you're not betraying your wife or your husband. But if you're so willing to potentially betray your wedding vows like that, betray your wife and your family, then why would you give a toss about anybody, just a normal member of the public like me or you or anybody else watching this? You wouldn't, would you? If something doesn't work like that. But like you just said, Starmer has become the story now, hasn't he? And that's not good. Alistair Campbell, who I am definitely not a fan of, once said when he was in charge of Blair's government, he said it was called the 9-day test. And if a story ran for more than 9 days, you were in serious, serious trouble. And it was basically resignation time to get yourself out of the way. And this is how long has this been going on for now? 2, 3 weeks, something like that. Like you said, people are twitching there. If people are to be believed that I've read reports and stuff, some from credible journalists, some not. Some are just people blurting on social media. The number 10 is absolutely in chaos at the moment. People have been speaking to Starmer about a possible resignation. People have been speaking about putting Angela Rayner in there. You'll notice that Angela Rayner is completely gone off radar at the moment. She's staying well out of the way of Starmer, keeping her, what's the word? Keeping her hands off the murder weapon, making sure she's nowhere near for when Starmer's gone. They're already plotting behind his back, and you may well be right. He might be gone before Christmas if this carries on. You cannot have these revelations coming to light every single day because it looks worse, doesn't it? Obviously, that's why the media are doing it. If they wanted to, like I said before, if you wanted to get it out in a couple of days, you could have done, couldn't you? But Guido Fawkes is one of the news outlets that's saying they've got the full scoop, they know the full thing, and Lord Ashcroft as well, who's written a book about Starmer, tried to break the story about him, but he got threatened with legal action as well. So there are people out there with the full scoop. I saw an interview with Guido Fawkes saying the story isn't dead. We're just trying to find the right way to get it out there. But like you, I wouldn't like to speculate what it is because if there is an injunction, I'm going to get sued. I don't really fancy that, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and also if all turns out to be untrue, I wouldn't.
Yeah, exactly.
I wouldn't want to be damaging someone's reputation when none of it's true because that's unfair as well.
It is unfair, yeah. I will say one thing, which isn't controversial, and it's out there in the media. Anybody can watch it. which could be related to this story potentially. There was an interview Starmer gave in the run up to the general election, and he actually forgot the gender of his own children. So he's got a boy and a girl. And in this interview, he suggested that he had two boys. So I'll leave that out there and let people make of it what they will. But anybody can watch that clip. It's not, a big exclusive or anything, but anybody can watch that clip. And that is what a lot of people are referring to now that I've seen when talking about this potential story about Starmer and his personal life. Or as many journalists are calling it, the shape of his family. That's what many are calling it.
Yeah, that's a weird description. I've heard this, the shape of his family. If this was about a transgender child, this isn't a story. If you had a transgender child, we would all know about it because it would have been pushed in our faces a long time ago.
Yeah,
definitely. He'd get brownie points for that. So the shape of his family. I mean, yeah, I don't want to speculate, but it's a very careful wording of something that absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. Like you, I wouldn't want to go into any further detail about it, but I think we can all surmise, can't we, what it means. But
yeah,
I wouldn't like to say anything that isn't untrue. Like you say, you don't want to damage a guy's reputation if it is completely rubbish.
Yeah.
But as soon as somebody gets the proof, some concrete proof of what this story is, it will be out there.
And that will happen in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah. It's already Isabel Oakeshott. I don't know if you know who she is. She's the Talk TV journalist. She said that it's an open secret in Westminster. The press pack know exactly what it is. It's just that nobody wants to be the one to fire the first broadside, if you will. They're waiting for somebody else to do it.
Yeah, which makes me think it isn't going to be that much of a story, because if it was, somebody would have broke it a long time ago. I think you're right. I think this is a personal thing to him about the shape of his family, about something like it's something like that maybe we don't really need to know about. But we will find out, and I think we'll find out very soon, because you cannot keep these things. We can't keep a lid on this. It's now a story. It's now a story. Everyone's talking about it. This will not go away until we find out.
Like you said, if you'd have fronted up at first and said, maybe not about the personal life, like you said, that's fair enough. But if you'd have fronted up about half of this stuff in the first place, you'd have got away with it. A prime minister is never more popular than the day they win power. Sorry, more powerful than the day they win power, because after that, they start making mistakes, they start dropping in the polls. He had just about enough credit in the bank from the election win and a big enough majority to basically get away with anything. If he came clean, apologised, and made a fresh start. But his arrogance and his narcissism simply wouldn't allow him to do it.
Yeah, and it's not like this is out of the blue. We've had 14 years of this with the Tories. So it wouldn't have been that big a story. It would have been, you've a little bit of a disappointment there, Kier. We thought you were slightly better. And that would have been the end of it, because Tories have been doing it for decades as well. But he's missed an opportunity. But let's end with our predictions. Starmer gone by Christmas, and the Labour government will be gone within 2 years. Do you want to offer a prediction?
Starmer, I'll go with you on that. Starmer gone by Christmas, but a Labour government for the next 4.
Wow, 4 years.
The majority's too big. I don't see how anybody can get rid of them. They can just keep chopping and changing leader, can't they? With a majority of 170 odd. Well, I know he's suspended 7 of them now already, hasn't he? But
it only can be a civil war. That's the only thing that can bring down Labour, is a civil war, and that's what I'm predicting. I foresee a civil war in Labour, because they're the only ones who can bring themselves down.
Yeah, it'd have to be something major, wouldn't it, to stop a majority this big? You'd be an idiot to call an early election, wouldn't you?
Oh, not a chance in hell. And if they ever thought about it, all they've got to do is look at Rishi Sunak.
Yeah, exactly.
Go, hey, we ain't doing that.
No, that's the one prediction I actually got right. I said that. I said it'd be a July election. I said it from January, and all the mainstream media were going, "No, it's not happening. It's not happening." I was saying it's July, and then he calls it for July.
Well done, you. Cheers, Ash. Cheers, Ash, for coming on. Let's do this again soon, and I'll catch you soon.
Yeah, pleasure, Nick. Thank you very much.
Did you enjoy that video? I think he did. Come on now, hit that bell, subscribe, comment. Let's build this channel. I need more followers. I need more subscribers. Be part of the journey. See you soon.